What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Renegade Capes on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. My name is Mike. I'll be your host for this evening. Joining me to my left, we've got Brock.
Hi.
To my right, we've got Matt.
I was actually invited on a podcast. It's not a stream. This is exciting.
And down below, we've got Manning.
Hello, I actually crawled my way into this. I just fought so many people to get. I know I didn't. I'm glad to be here though.
We've got Malcolm.
Hello.
We've got Taylor.
Hello.
And we have Meredith.
Hi there.
So today we are talking about the 31st entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Ant-Man and the
That
Wasp.
is one away from
Quantumania.
the amount of years I've lived.
Yeah, show this franchise has been along for quite a bit. So before we get into the film proper, I kind of want to know where everyone is coming from, at least with the Ant-Man trilogy. Meredith, I'll start with you. Your general thoughts on the adventures of Scott Lang?
So I am a big fan of the first two Ant-Man movies. I think part of it had to do, I had just moved to the Bay Area when the first Ant-Man movie came out. So the fact that it took place in San Francisco, I felt like, yes, I'm getting like acclimated here, and I could recognize different, stuff from it. I really enjoy the Ant-Man movies. I love Scott Lang. I love the characters that are involved in his world and how overall it's been such on like a smaller scale, but it's made the humor stand out. It's made the character moments stand out. And honestly, it has brought me to one of my favorite things that I've ever learned is that Baskin Robbins always finds out. So I love the Ant-Man movies, but I did have low expectations going in to see Quantumania, just based on the scale and where Phase 4 was kind of just all over the place in quality, especially this past year in the movie. So I was a little nervous walking into Quantumania.
Understandable. Manning, where is your temperature with the Ant-Man trilogy?
Well, the Ant-Man trilogy. Okay, so it's kind of a what's the term? It's in the tip of my tongue right now. It's like the law of diminishing returns, and that's kind of my feeling about this series, because I love the first Ant-Man. That's one that I've watched over and I've been like, this is just funny. I love the heist aspect of everything. And Ant-Man and the Wasp, I do think it's lesser in comparison, just because I think there's too much going on. But I love it feels still small stakes. It's really kind of fun. And when we got to this one, I feel like this one, they tried to insert the Ant-Man in a formulaic Marvel film where it doesn't feel like Ant-Man. And that's kind of like what I'm going to leave it there. But I love the other two. I love the first one, and I like Ant-Man and the Wasp. So that's all. That's my tidbit.
Nice. Malcolm, what about you?
For me, I really enjoy the Ant-Man movies. They do end up in the middle of my MCU rankings, but that's not saying much because it's not really an MCU movie that I actually don't like. So, I really enjoy my favorite out of the trilogy is probably Ant-Man and the Wasp at the moment, but maybe with more watching, Quantumania can overtake that. But yeah.
And Taylor, what about you?
Ant-Man to me is kind of like if you go into Walmart and you find a big bin of like $5 movies and you see all the ones at the top are like the good Marvel films, and then Ant-Man is at the way bottom that you're gonna have to like dig down for and search. That's kind of where Ant-Man is at for me.
That's where I find all my favorite movies. So
all right, Matt, what about you?
I was telling you and Brock before we got on that the first Ant-Man movie since it came out has been in my top 3 Marvel movies. Scott Lang, he's always been my top 5 characters, like Steve Rogers, like ever since the first movie. I enjoyed Ant-Man and the Wasp. I did enjoy it more than the first movie, but still, every time the characters pop up in somebody else, whether it be Civil War or Endgame, I've always been excited. And going into this movie, because I sort of had this thing after Endgame was what I'm looking forward to are more Guardians movies and more Ant-Man movies. So I was excited just to see this movie. The trailers were good. I wouldn't say I was like overhyping myself, and I think that was the best way I went into this. Was just like I'm excited to just see another chapter in the Ant-Man films, and this movie is. We're gonna get into this. I need to see it again, but it might be my favorite of this trilogy. I thought this was a spectacular film.
Nice.
Shock
Nice.
Pikachu face from Manning. Or surprised. I'm sorry. No,
Yeah.
your memes.
Oh, it's fine.
Yes.
I'm
gonna
not
kill
the
me.
meme police.
Ah! Get your words
Oh.
right.
Brock, I know we talked already about Quantumania, but what are your thoughts on the first two Ant-Man films?
I just loved it. I love them. It's hard for me to not like Paul Rudd in anything. He's just one of those people that is like genuinely I'm taking joy in a syringe and just injecting it into my arm. He's just a pleasant person to see on screen. I love Paul Rudd. And Michael Douglas. I always have to mention it whenever Michael Douglas is in a movie that Michael Keaton's acting name is Michael Keaton because his real name is Michael Douglas and he couldn't take it because of Michael Douglas.
Oh.
Random YouTube trivia.
I did not know that. That's
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
cool.
His real name's Michael Douglas. But yeah, you just
How
got
did
there
they
first.
not had a movie where they play brothers now?
You got
They
me, but I
totally
always
should.
wanted it
What the
since I
hell?
learned that.
Get on it.
I love the groups that people put together. I really like that. And it's weird how I'll mention that I didn't even realize that Scott's group wasn't in this until Mike pointed it out to me while we were reviewing it because it didn't faze me. But yeah, I really like it. I'm gonna tell you, CW, I'm glad you're dumb at dropping shows that it gave Catherine Newton a chance to be in this movie because she would have been tied down with one of the 1,400 Supernatural spinoffs you wanted to cancel, and now she's doing better. So your loss. I liked it.
CW
Might be my
loss was
second
my
favorite.
game.
I gotta watch, but yeah, exactly.
I agree
Awesome.
with Matt in that the Ant-Man movies have always kind of been at the top of my list. And one thing I like about all three is that even though they are kind of stylistically different, like the first movie is
Yes.
mostly a sci-fi heist film. Ant-Man and the Wasp is kind of like a newer version of like those old like Disney live action films from the 60s. And then Quantumania, which we'll get into next, is pretty much the Fantastic Four movie that Peyton Reed never got to make. And that's one of the many reasons why I love this movie as much as I did.
There you go.
So now we'll start to get into the movie itself. Manning, I'm going to start with you first. What were your thoughts on Quantumania?
I think I'm sensing a pattern here where people let me restart. I'm sensing a pattern here where people are beginning to also have the same mentality of like, they didn't have high expectations going into this because the trailers, they're good, but they really didn't feel like an Ant-Man movie. And what I mean by that is I think that despite obviously, I guess, differences, the same director and whatnot, Ant-Man and Ant-Man and the Wasp felt like, okay, these are Ant-Man movies in a way where they felt like very low stakes personal films. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, as I said earlier in my intro, tried to inject that, but in what I felt was a very pre-made Marvel formulaic story about a setup for which is basically a setup for their next Avengers film. And I have nothing wrong with that. That's just kind of like how comic books and comic book movies in this case are that's how they are. And I'm okay with that. But to me, it feels like by trying to do both, they effectively kind of undercut themselves. And while they set up some aspects, which Jonathan Majors I will sing his praises all day, and I'm probably won't be the only person. He is the best part about this movie, in my opinion. Love him. But outside of that, I was really left underwhelmed with the movie, and the more I think about it, the more I'm just kind of left with a sour taste in my mouth. And I'll see it again eventually, but this one just felt very antithetical to what I felt like an Ant-Man movie should be. And by trying to inject Ant-Man in there with some of those really hollow emotional beats, it was like, okay, let's not really feeling it as much as I did. But you know what? Different, I guess, opinions, and I'm excited to hear what y'all's are.
I've got a point to make about that in a second, but before we get there, Taylor, your thoughts on Quantumania?
A little bit the same. Like, the more I think about it, the more it sours for me. But I thought it was just like super underwhelming. I'm not too big on Ant-Man in the MCU. I mean, I love Paul Rudd as Ant, and I love like the interactions with him and Cassie. Like, that's where the movie shines for me. But overall, the Ant-Man movies are just like super average. Like, nothing really special about them. Just like they're just kind of there.
All right, Malcolm, what about you?
Yeah, so I actually kind of like the fact that they decided to sort of do something different with Ant-Man and like use him to sort of kickstart the MCU to lead up to Kang Dynasty, because I think is the perfect way to do it, especially with the whole quantum realm time traveling type stuff. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it more than I thought I was. Well, yes, I did miss Luis and like the rest, because I honestly I think the perfect opportunity to get a Infinity War saga recap from Luis would have been at the start of this one. But at least we got one of the actors come back. I'll get more of that when we get there. But yeah.
And Meredith, your thoughts?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I can't say that I love it or it's in like my top 10 of Marvel movies. There have been so many at this point, but I have seen this movie twice now, and I can't get over that I enjoy so much of this movie. There are things that do leave me like a little underwhelmed, particularly like I miss Louise and his friends, and even Judy Greer. Like, why couldn't we see Maggie Lang one more time?
Right?
Yeah, seriously, like, use Judy Greer. So I missed them, and I wish we had a little bit more time in San Francisco before we moved to the quantum realm. I also think there were another problem that I saw was like they really kind of pushed Hope, the Wasp, to kind of the background in this movie, but it was more in service of Michelle Pfeiffer, who I thought was incredible in this movie. Like, this is why you dreamcast her and get her to be a part of your Ant-Man movie. I know Jonathan Majors is everyone's MVP, rightfully so. He is so good as this version of Kang, and I love that. As opposed to how we saw him in the end of Loki, we're seeing this like very intimidating, commanding presence that like you are fearful for everybody who comes in contact with him. Like, he could wreck you in just a second. But yeah, so between Jonathan Majors and Michelle Pfeiffer, I just thought it was really good. I really loved the character dynamics between Scott and Cassie. I really loved we are totally going to get into this, but I personally liked MODOK a whole bunch. And I liked the way that they tied in Darren Cross, like making this truly a trilogy of kind of paying off some of the conflict that was there between them that I didn't feel was earned in the first Ant-Man movie. It was kind of like, you just are adversaries for the sake of this, where this felt like, oh, there's baggage here, and I think it works. while visually, like, it's not as impressive, everything else about it still works. Even the humor works in this, with like William Jackson Harper and Bill Murray showing up for a hot second. Like, I just had such a good time with it. So yeah, that's me in short.
Nice. Matt, did you see this movie in 3D or standard?
I saw it in Dolby.
Nice.
Yeah. That's how I go. I get headaches with 3D glasses, so thank God for Dolby.
Okay.
You know, oddly enough, I was converted to 3D around last year when I saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Don't lie. It was Titanic recently. Don't lie.
Yes, Matt. Yes.
I mean, to be fair, I did
see
that
DiCaprio's face just come into the screen for you. Mike was like, draw me like one of your French girls.
Listen, that was great 3D adapting or whatever they did. That was fantastic.
Once
was.
again,
The
I've
water and
derailed the
everything.
podcast. Like, what are we, 18 minutes in?
Can it match the Green Hornet though?
So you think this is probably your favorite of the trilogy?
Yeah, probably. I need one more watch to solidify, but probably it is. So I'm a gigantic Star Wars fan. I was talking with Brock and Mike beforehand, and as per usual, I plug stuff. I just wrote an article on my WordPress about this. I think this is scratched an itch from Star Wars that I haven't had since Rise of Skywalker. I love the fact that the quantum realm, despite the fact Scott Bakula is not in it, missed opportunity there, Marvel. I love that it feels like a lived-in world that's been operating. Because I think too often in science fiction stories, when we build these new worlds, there's always this tendency to make it like, I don't know. There's just sometimes it's just like, well, this world was just created right now, and this wasn't. Like when they go to the bar and they meet Bill Murray, there's so much of, and how Michelle Pfeiffer, like that scene when she fights the dude and cuts his arm off. It's just like, this is a world that has been happening and we don't get to know everything about it. Kind of like the original Star Wars. Like we don't kind of get to know everything. And that's nice because that is like, when you go to, like, I'm an American, when you go to Europe, like people don't just sit there and explain to you their entire world, that's been operating for all these years. And visually, it was stunning. Jonathan Majors as Kang. He had so much Darth Vader in him. And not just look-wise, but presence. Like that presence Darth Vader has in something like Empire Strikes Back, he brought to this. And I really enjoyed that because I feel like since Thanos, the MCU hasn't really had that kind of a villain. And I didn't watch Loki, so this was my intro to Kang. And I'm so excited that this is the Thanos of this, sort of what we're building to. Scott Lang, I really liked that this was really the first time he's been asked to be a real hero. Like he going up against someone like Kang, and we really get to sort of see him get pushed to that, and that moment of I don't need to win, we both just need to lose was just such a great moment. And this is the guy who fought next to Captain America. And Captain America's whole deal was I could do this all day. And I loved seeing that this guy, character that I loved, who was always the funny side hero, has that heroic, Luke Skywalker personality to him. I do agree that Hope was a little sidelined, but I think it was in service of Janet, who you can make an argument she's more the main character of this movie because so much of this movie revolves around her actions, both present in this and also for 30 years in the quantum realm. And that was great because Janet was good in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but here, this is the first time she's a full character. Cassie, I thought Catherine Newton added so much because I like the fact that, her intro scene is her in jail, but I like the fact that she's not a bad kid. And I love that she spends so much time with Hank and so she's gotten that sort of like Michael Douglas in the first movie kind of way about her, and I really like that. And I like the fact that, you know, the whole, you know, tap and push, like she's just learning the ropes, and that's fun to see, and it's fun to see. And Hank, like, look, that man just loves his ants. That man just loves his freaking ants, and you gotta respect that, like that. And Michael Douglas is so hilarious, you know, and I think, and I was talking with some friends about this, and even just doing this now, even hearing, you know, Manning with his you know, criticisms that he has for the movies and everything. This is a movie that makes me smile when I think about it. And that is also why I say it scratches that itch for Star Wars for me, because that is a series that when I think about it makes me smile. And that's been lacking for me in the MCU since Endgame. So yeah, hit me up with your pitchforks and torches. But yeah, I adored this movie. Yeah, the Star Wars of the MCU for me.
Honestly, there's a lot that you said that I pretty much agree with. One thing that I've really noticed about this movie is that it's titled Ant-Man and the Wasp, not Scott Lang and Hope Van Dyne. And it's cool that we actually get to see both generations like actively involved in the narrative.
That is a great point, because Janet was Wasp way before Hope was.
Yep, she's
That's
Exactly.
So there's
I
an
think
argument
she
that
said-
it is an Ant-Man and Wasp movie. It's just not the Wasp we've been watching.
Yeah.
not to plug my own stuff, but I totally write about that in one of my Collider articles about the Wasp. So just
I just
Nice.
plugged my WordPress before, so you have a much better
right
thing to
ahead.
plug, so you're fine.
By the way, I just want to point out we have a Rotten Tomatoes certified critic on the panel.
Nice. That's amazing. I did not know that.
It's not Manning.
No,
be,
I'm
though.
not.
Rotten
I'm
Tomatoes, get
not.
on-
I'm clapping for Meredith. I'm
Get on
not.
it.
Thank
Rotten
you.
Tomatoes. I was gonna
Thank
say,
you.
Malcolm, you got certified? I knew Reagan was popular, but
I can clap for other people.
It feels sad for myself. It's fine.
it's good. It's okay. He did the Oscars
right.
clap. He did the Oscars. Like, I lost. It's okay.
It's slightly above the bulk clap. It's fine.
So Brock, one of the things we talked about in our Marvel Hour review is that I kind of wish we saw a little bit more of Cassie before she was thrown in prison. Do you think that would have maybe strengthened the arc that she and Scott have together?
No, because man, I don't even know how much they knew they wanted to use Cassie until this film, because she's had 3 different actors.
Oh yeah,
Give or
that's
take,
right.
one of them would have needed a lot of aging up, but like, what happened to the girl from Endgame? Like, I think they made the choice that Cassie was going to be important when they started writing Ant-Man 3. But like it took a lot of, it's like, duh, she hadn't seen him. There was one point in the movie, and we'll get about it when we talk about it, that should have been someone else doing a very important thing that would have strengthened it. That made no damn sense to me that Hope did it. But we'll get there. Yeah, it's just, I wouldn't have minded just seeing a little, if I wanted Louise to do anything, I wouldn't have minded him doing the intro to Cassie's life, because I totally forgot that they weren't in the movie until Mike brought it up when we were doing the review 4 hours later that night. My brain just went, but because in my brain, Hank, Hope, and Janet are all gone. Who was raising Cassie? Them. It had to be them.
Was Louise even dusted?
No, I don't think anyone else was. I think his whole crew is fine.
That's a good point.
We'll never know.
So, like, I would have loved the little intro of, like, she's kind of a little itty bitty wanting to be a thief because A, she's close with Hank, and also she was raised by, like, 4 career things.
But I think they get around that with who she is by when you realize how much time she's been spending with Hank.
No, I get that. I'm like, if you were going to have them in the movie for a little bit, that would have been a good extra.
Yeah.
Because to me, the fact that they weren't in the quantum realm meant you didn't have another 4 people that couldn't fight anyone and had to hide from gunfire for the entire movie. So I was very okay with them sending the 4 people that could have took care of themselves in there at the end, and if they were only going to spend roughly 4 seconds in not the quantum realm, I was like, okay, I get partially why, other than T.I., being T.I., why they weren't in there. Which I still don't understand how they casted T.I. in the movies in the first place. That was so random.
Right?
I liked it. There was parts of me that thought there was a couple of story points that they had too many plot ideas going at once, that they all worked, but at the end, there's one specific point that kind of makes one of them not work for me as much. Also, but no, we'll talk about it later. I liked it. I thought there was at points where it felt overstuffed, but also it was great. I wanted to feel in this movie like someone could take care of Thanos. I wanted that from Kang because we need to be scared of this guy. And I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I could see him beat Thanos in a fist fight. And he beat Hulk in a fist fight. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to see Jonathan Majors with his shirt off fist fighting Thanos. Like, did you see that beach photo of him that dropped before the movie?
In March, you get to kind of see him fight Killmonger with his shirt off.
That's what I'm waiting on. I'm
Yes.
like, you get to see an anime version of that with him. Like, there's frames stolen from Dragon Ball Z of those fights. It's going to be... Jonathan Majors is great. He's going to be so good. And we're going to get to see multiple versions of him as Kang throughout while we're waiting. It's so great. You get to play one character 16 different ways, most likely. How much more do you score?
Yeah, that's like the best thing for an actor to just be like, I get to do all of these?
Exactly. Oh, that was my one complaint where, like, they wasted Kang in this movie. I'm like, which one? Which one?
Yeah.
There was 1,000 of them in the end credit scene. Which one did they waste?
We'll get to that in a second.
I like the one really hype boy in the post-credit scene who's
Oh,
going,
yes.
But going back to the absence of like Louise in that just briefly, it makes me wonder if like Michael Pena and Judy Greer were busy, because I'd like to think they try to get them to play a character in different character in the quantum realm. Would be interesting.
That's a good point, Malcolm, because while the trio is not in the film, David Dastmalchian plays a new character named Veb, who
Was great.
Veb is delightful. Taylor, I know you were kind of mixed and negative on the film, but aside from Kang, what would you say are some of the highlights for you?
I really liked Scott and Cassie's dynamic. Like when they're together, that's like the highlight of the film for me. Like I know it's like a small, like silly moment, but the whole jump and tap thing I loved, because it's just him and her like bonding, and she's like, no, like did you see that? And she's like, no, you're like this small. Like that. I really love, just the humor of them, and Kang was really great as well. But other than that, most of it is just like meh to me,
There's something that comes full circle when it comes to Scott and Cassie's relationship, because in the first movie, it was Hope that was showing Scott the ropes of how to be Ant-Man, and now in this one, Scott is like passing the torch to Stature, which I thought was really cool.
I went to prison. I was in prison for 4 years. I know how to punch. That's how you punch.
So,
by fourth.
what I will agree with Taylor on by saying, I think those are the moments where Ant-Man has always shined in those character moments, from like even just Luis picking up back in the first Ant-Man, just picking him up out of prison, like those small character moments where Paul Rudd, who is just incredibly charismatic no matter who he is, who said on the podcast that like you could watch anything with Paul Rudd, because whoever said that, I don't remember who said it, but you were Brock,
Well,
you were
I might
right.
not have been on your podcast, but here I watch him in anything.
Oh, here. That's what I mean.
Yeah,
right
that
here
was me.
on the pod. Yes.
Anything.
You did it.
Yes.
He is fantastic. And I like, he loves this character. You can tell. And that just kind of pours through. I think to me, where everything, it wasn't the actors, to me, I think where this really started to fail and falter is the juggling, all the different plot threads, where some, not that they didn't go anywhere, but they felt really kind of haphazard, like the entire MODOK stuff. Like, I don't know when we want to talk about MODOK, which again, I loved the kind of the brazenly silly design. Like they went full ham, and I'm here for it. And then they kind of did the thing that Marvel does a lot of the times, which I'm really starting to despise because I can't stand Thor: Love and Thunder because of this. It does it so much, where they undercut themselves emotionally by throwing in a joke and making it not serious. I cannot stand that. And that happened, especially with the character of MODOK, who is just a walking joke at this point. Like, listen, I don't like Darren, spoiler, obviously. I don't like Darren Cross whatsoever as a character. I don't have any emotional attachment, but kind of like, I don't know. It's stuff along those lines where they try to come back at you with like, oh yeah, but he could be good. Don't be a dick. Remember that entire line? Had no emotional weight to it. No emotional weight to it.
The moment with Cassie was funny, but bringing it up not so much.
I don't know. I was dying at the brother line at Paul Rudd's reaction.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like it's like really, this guy is literally. I mean, he's a joke in and of itself. But I don't know. I feel like by undercutting themselves, that's why that really feels emotionally hollow to me. It's like the same thing when and back Thor: Love and Thunder. I'll bring it back up when Sif was quote unquote dying and like all this horror was happening, and they're like, oh, wait, my arm, I'll be fine. Oh, come on, people. Like, that's my problem with the Marvel Universe movies in comparison to this one. And Quantumania just double down on stuff like that.
I will push back a little on the MODOK death scene. I think it's almost like the writers knew no one's going to be emotionally attached to Darren Cross dying. So let's not make it like it's something like this is not Tony telling his daughter, I love you 3000. This is Darren. Dude, most people probably forgot the name of the villain. So let's make a joke and a really great. It almost plays into it because the brother line is almost like that's like a Revenge of the Sith. You were my brother, and their reactions are like, "How? What? How did you get there, Darren? How? Oh, okay."
And you're right.
Even I forgot about. Even I forgot that Darren Cross was his name, or even how he died in the first Ant-Man.
MODOK was a throwaway character regardless, but him aside, I do feel like a lot of the plot threads, him included, some of the really horrendous use of exposition, like the entire, like I love the stuff with Kang. I do not like exposition when it becomes that much because I want to go back to Cassie and Scott and their relationship because this guy's trying to be a father. And I feel like it undercuts itself by trying to do too much because I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I want to know about the emotional side of him being a father and what that means after 5 years of being gone. And I wanted him to explore that more.
Well, I think we got some of that definitely like after he picks Cassie up from jail, which side note, I just realized like how that is thematically. That's when we meet Scott. This is how we're meeting Cassie. Like brilliance right there. Just seeing kind of their dynamic as he picks her up and like clearly he just cares about being a dad. He does not want to be an Avenger anymore. And the moment that really like stuck the landing for their dynamic is like right before when like, well, Scott go like staring Kang in the face and saying, you will not touch my daughter again. I have never seen Paul Rudd attempt to be intimidating, but I felt like Scott really coming through there. And that was such a good moment. Agreed. And then when Cassie runs up to hug him before he jumps into the probability storm and he's like, I love you, Peanut, brings us right back to the first Ant-Man movie for me. So like those are the moments, man. Like
the top moment for me was in the middle of that probability storm when you see all of them swirling around and all of them stop acting like absolute idiots the second they realize Cassie's talking to him. Yeah, like, no, we're getting them up there. Guys, go. Stop being idiots. Get him up there. And they literally form a nature-like anthill to get him up to Cassie.
I agree, Brock. I was going to bring up that moment because I feel like this is one of those times to where Scott lost all this time. You know, he went into, the quantum realm and Cassie was a little kid and he came out and now she's, an adult. And I think it's one of those things to where it's sometimes in movies and in life, I guess, but like in movies, the actions of a father speak louder than the words he can. And I feel like that is what this movie showed is that, yes, maybe we didn't get a lot of Cassie and Scott talking, but moments like in the probability when all the different Scotts join together to take care of her, you know, and for me, it's that moment when Kang has her up against the wall, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill her, and then I'm gonna make you rewatch it over and over again." And just that, like, Scott knows this guy is bad. I should not help him, but I'm going to do this for my daughter. And I thought that was wonderful. And yeah. I mean, I do agree. Yeah, I would have loved more, but I also think Cassie and Scott aren't dead. So we're gonna get more of them together, and this was a great starting point. And yeah, I love her intro, how it mirrors her dad, and she definitely gained some of Scott's kind of smarminess, because that moment with the cop car where she's like, "Oh, but by the way, I did find this," she definitely, even though he's gone for over his years, he definitely had an influence on her. Yeah. And there's also a little bit of Hank in there too, because she's been spending a lot of time with Grandpa Hank. There was a lot of Michael Douglas in her too.
The fact that she said Grandpa Hank, I got so emotional over that. Like she views them as family in that way. Even though I'm pretty sure Scott and Hope aren't married, they're just dating or whatever.
That's what I asked Mike if I missed that during the movie.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that too. And I love that, but you know what, again, going back to, and I'm going to keep hitting this point, going back to the Star Wars comparison, Star Wars, since that first movie, is a film about found family. Ben Kenobi was not Luke Skywalker's father. And yet in that movie, he takes the place of his father. Hank is not her biological grandfather or even legally binding grandfather. And yet she refers to him as Grandpa Hank. And you get the sense that, like, ever since he came out, they've been spending all this time together, and he's 100% been showing her his ants, and she's had no interest. She wants the quantum realm, but every time she wants to work on quantum realm, he's like, "Yeah, but Cassie, look at the ants. Look at what the ants are doing." I want scenes of that. I want scenes in the next movie of just him be like, "Yeah, but Cassie, ants." And Janet, I like too with that dynamic as well. I like the idea that. And again, I like the fact this is a movie to where we walk into a pre-existing world. I like the fact that, like, Hope and Cassie have definitely been trying to get stuff about the quantum realm out of her, and she doesn't want to talk about it until it's too late. And then you realize, well, maybe if you spoke, Janet, we wouldn't be in this mess. But you didn't speak. Like that moment when she's like, "Why didn't you tell me about this?" Like, it's like, we tried to tell you about this, and you didn't listen to us. Also, the pizza scene. The pizza scene. That had to be a reference to Back to the Future Part 2. It had to be.
I was wondering the same thing
coming through. It had to be.
Wait, Taylor, you had something to say.
Oh no, nothing.
No, that was me. Yeah, no. I really hope that we do get a Cassie standalone series down the line, and maybe do flashbacks to show her life sort of but like before this movie, to give a little bit more insight to what she's been doing during that time. And I really think that I think Catherine Newton's probably here to stay as Cassie. I don't think there's going to be another recast. I think that's part of the reason why they probably recast from Emma to Catherine Newton, because I think they knew that Cassie was going to have a lot more going forward in the MCU, and they probably wanted an actress that kind of can do a lot more. So to me, it's the Shadowcat situation from the X-Men series. Like, you had two different actresses before you settled on Elliot Page. So
I forgot there was a different Kitty Pryde before.
Barely ever see him.
Yeah, in the first one, she just runs through a door, and Logan's like, "What's that about?"
Yeah, but she was like a little kid back then.
No, that's the second one. The second one, she's like a child running through the door. Or we think in the second one, mutants.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
It's X-Men. It doesn't make any sense anyway.
That's true.
That's a good point.
Powers, it's fine.
Stan Lee's just like, I don't know. I just wrote these things. Excelsior. That was.
I want to bring back a point that Manning brought up, that this movie tries to juggle a couple different narrative threads, and one of them that I noticed a little bit more the second time was this whole arc about Scott becoming an Avenger again. And that was kind of inspired by the freedom fighters that they meet in the quantum realm. And also the line in his book, you know, you have to stand, like, don't forget to stand up for the little guy. I think the second time I saw this movie, I noticed I wasn't as big a fan of that plot as I was just the general through line of Scott just wants more time with his daughter. And I think if they tightened up the script a little bit more, they could have they could have blended those two a little bit more seamlessly. Like, the reason why he's so protective of Cassie, why he doesn't want her to follow in his footsteps, is because he's afraid of losing her again. Like,
And
does that make any sense?
I was
Definitely.
actually going to
Yeah.
agree, because I wanted to clarify my point a little further, and by saying that's where I find that side of Scott Lang infinitely more interesting than just trying to be an Avenger, because that's him at his most vulnerable, with him trying to be a father. And like those moments, like with the cop car, like that, yeah, like that stuff is great, because when he's picking her up, like as you were saying, Meredith, like that's a parallel. And I love it when we have stuff like that, because they are where, to me, that's where the movie really shines, is when he gets to be a father, or he's having that struggle, or when he's fighting Kang, and and it's basically kind of almost about he's doing this for Cassie. Yes, he's an Avenger, but that plot isn't as necessarily as, it's not as engaging as probably when he's at his most human. And that's why the Ant-Man movies have always been the most, with their smaller stakes, they're human. Because Scott Lang, while he's definitely super powered, he's probably one of the most human out of all the different Avengers that we have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think it's significant that there are only 2 dads on the Avengers lineup, Hawkeye being one of them, but
Yeah.
we don't see him being a father being the motivation necessarily for him being an Avenger. Like, he was a SHIELD agent for all these years. Like, we didn't see like how he became part of SHIELD and what have you, but it is very clear from the moment we meet Scott Lang in Ant-Man, that's exactly why he is doing what he's doing. And I also agree with that, Manny. I think the reason why Scott is such a great hero is when he gets to be a dad, and that is where he shines. And I am so glad that through all of the Quantumania stuff, like, that is still at the core of this movie. And that's why I love Scott, and I will keep coming back to him as one of my favorite heroes.
Yeah, I agree. I
Same.
think it adds a great
Sorry.
humanity to his character that is a little different from like Steve Rogers. Like that dude was just like, I mean, that dude was like a World War II guy. Like, he's, you lay on the bomb and everything, where Scott Lang, it's like his heroicness is just like, I love my family. And I do agree, for as much as I love this movie, obviously it's not 100% perfect. No movie is. I do agree, Manning. There could have been, like, as you were saying that, I was thinking there could have been a moment like in Incredibles with Mr. Incredible and Mrs. Incredible, when he says, I can't lose you again. Like, you could have had a moment like that I think could have just tightened it a little bit more. However, that moment when he turns into Giant Man and he thinks Cassie is in the rings and he just goes full, like, not caring about anything, just going towards the rings like that.
That
You
was
do
great.
see that,
Agreed.
but I agree. I think, but I also do like that kind of arc of, you start the movie off with him like, I was an Avenger, but I'm not anymore. And that line to Kang, to where he's like, I've called all the Avengers and they're coming and everything. And then Kang almost is just like, I don't care if you're an Avenger. That doesn't matter. I've killed, like that moment where he's like, are you the one with the hammer? And I kind of think the movie by the end does show that, like, going forward, that isn't what's important with Scott, is that he's an Avenger, is that he's a dad. And I think going forward with this character, I think that's a really great way to end this movie, is that that familial unit is going to be important come the Kang dynasty and everything, and I'm excited for that. Yeah, but I do agree. I think there, like I said, you could have, if you had that Incredibles moment, it could just tighten it a little bit more.
that's one of the things that I spoke earlier, that I thought the plot threads didn't work in a certain part, and the I'm not going to lose you again moment. It should have been Cassie that came back through the portal to come and get him instead of Hope. Because I'm going to be honest here, most of the conversations post Quantum Realm, other than when he went into the probability storm, was Cassie kind of jabbing him in the ribs about how he didn't want to be an Avenger anymore.
Yeah,
He didn't
I
need
agree
to be.
with that.
He didn't need to be.
Yeah. I think that's just, I
yeah.
think that becomes the, we haven't given Hope a lot to do. Let's give her a badass moment to come
I
and save
that.
her man. I do
get
agree
that,
with that.
but the whole thing is how Scott missed years of her life because of several moments where he's locked away somewhere. Now here's the point where Cassie's going to go, nope. And she's going to risk getting stuck over there. And they could have had the exact, I'm not losing you again moment where she's like, guess what? If I'm stuck somewhere, I'm being stuck with you. I haven't had you for my whole life. No reason that it should have been. And again, being who Cassie is, I wouldn't have cared if both Hope and Hank tried stopping her. She would have KO'd both of them on the way through that portal to get to her dad. That made no sense to me whatsoever.
I'm with you there. And the subsequent, like the following I love you between Scott and Hope just didn't feel earned for me as much as I love that couple, just because they spent so much time apart in the quantum realm. Like you really didn't feel a sense of urgency of them trying to reunite with each other in the same way. Mm-hmm. And yes, I think that if Cassie would have gone through, and even if there was a struggle, like they couldn't immediately get them back to San Francisco, like that really would have cleaned that up and made it more emotionally satisfying. I think it didn't take away from my full enjoyment, but that was definitely something like, I think it was like a last minute like decision, like actually we're going to make it Hope instead because of the way like they had set everything up.
Yeah, I mean, like had they given Hope more to do to lead up to that, to make it earned, then I probably would have that would have made sense. But for the most of the movie, Hope was too busy getting annoyed at Janet for not telling her stuff, and it didn't seem like she was more interested in going to find Scott. And it's just one of those ones, like I too had issues with that moment as well. And I do wish it was Cassie. But the other thing I did have an issue with is the rules of the quantum realm itself, because in Endgame, they like Scott was, who I don't know how long Scott was there, but I think he said he was. If I remember rightly, I think he said he was there for about 5 hours, but it was 5 years or something to that extent. It seemed like they got out of this instantly, whether or not it was a time travel sort of thing that they're not saying. But the fact that it did that whole thing, pretty much the end was pretty much mirroring the start. But it didn't seem like there was any time lost when they jumped out of the quantum realm this time.
Well, that could also just be the problem that if you go from Back to the Future to Terminator to Quantum Leap, it's just the problem of time. Most time travel things don't like to listen to their own.
They were in a different layer of the quantum realm, Malcolm. It works different.
Yeah, time travel. It's always very much. It's just like it Endgame didn't even really listen to its own time travel rules that they established in the same movie.
And we still loved it.
That's true.
Yeah. But going back to the Cassie thing, I think the reason is maybe also because they kind of established that Cassie's the only one who really understood this technology. So if she got trapped, there's really no way to bring them back, because it's like Hank could help her technology-wise, but once you take him away from ants and shrinking things, he doesn't know these things. And Hope I don't know. It's like I understood it. I understood why you put Evangeline Lilly there, because you're like, well, she hasn't really had a great like badass moment yet in this movie, and her going back to get him. But yeah, it probably would have been stronger with Cassie, but I didn't really, honestly, when it happened, I wasn't like, I was like, oh no, this makes sense. I talked
with Mike during the review that it would have been, you had two options for that. She either comes through, hits him out, or you had a moment where you saw a giant man-sized fist come through the portal, knock him clean out of the building, then she just grabs him and comes back.
That would have been awesome.
Or watching Kang though in that scene, that the Jonathan Majors, just to bring us back to more of the positives of that scene, Jonathan Majors' anger coming through in that, as he's like he's losing, and this is, you start to realize this is the first time this guy has lost a fight with someone and is losing a fight and is going to lose. Like this guy's like, I don't lose, I win. Maybe it takes a little longer for me to win, but I win. And I think that also just goes back to that thing about Scott Lang in this movie is just like, you know why good defeats evil? It's the line from Order of the Phoenix is because we have something we're fighting for. Like that is why I'm gonna win, is because all you want to do is just destroy these worlds and make everything great for you. I'm fighting for my daughter. I'm fighting for my family. And I love that. I think that's great. But yeah, Jonathan Majors, it was just the anger. It was the anger he started to show, like when his suit starts getting ripped. And also just a cool point that I didn't really even realize until I watched Jeremy John's review is I like the fact that his technology is so advanced it looks like magic in this movie, but it's technology. And that's such a cool, like, thing that it's just like, because we've seen Doctor Strange and we've seen these magical characters with the fact that, like, no, this is tech, but we just can't understand it because he's, Janet explains, like, he's so far ahead of us that we can't even wrap our brains around that this is something someone built. That was really cool too with that character.
That also brings me to what I like about Kang, why I just thought of this, that why I think Ant-Man works as a movie introducing him, because like with Thanos, he's like a giant purple alien with these stones all over the universe, but with Kang, he's a human. He's just but with technology. That's a really good like distinguishing point from him. And I also think that works with him being Ant-Man, because Ant-Man's just like a guy, who wants to fight for his family. He's like a lot more grounded versus the other people, so it kind of works with like just this guy who has technology is in this movie with like this guy that wants to protect his family.
The other reason why Kang, I think, is the perfect villain for Scott specifically is the whole thing about time. Both of these characters have lost time through various circumstances, and that's why I think the deal that clearly Kang did not hold his end of the bargain. Bad.
I have altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further.
Exactly. That is like the best push that Scott could have had to, like he says, I don't have to win. We just both have to lose. Mm-hmm. I think that line is just perfect.
And I want to speak to that by saying, like, Jonathan Majors is such a dynamic performer, whether he's in Five Bloods or even last year's like Devotion. Like, he just makes everything better. I have yet to dislike, I haven't seen everything by him, but I've yet to dislike him in anything. In fact, I think he's such a versatile actor, and he makes so many specific choices, even in like some of the small lines that he says about, like you're the one with the hammer, the way he has his cadence, and it's just like regality to him. It's like this, as we said, like Darth Vader in a way, and the way he carries himself, I feel is so, there's something so villainous and kind of intimidating just with the way that he speaks. And Marvel has had a villain problem in the past, and so they fixed it a lot, but sometimes they don't. This is a case where they get it so right, because you're right. Actually, that was a good Taylor, was a good idea, because and Mike, as y'all were talking about time and how Ant-Man has lost the time, Kang literally is time. Like, that is his entire, you cannot bring Kang in unless you are going to alter time, because that's literally his whole shtick. Time altering. And then who else has lost time? Well, lots of people have lost time, but specifically Scott Lang. So it works really well. And that's a great point, and actually made me appreciate his involvement even more, even if the execution may not be there for me. I think that's a great point, and I really want to watch that again, because I'm excited it's about Kang, because we'll never really fully get rid of him because there's too many of them, and I'm just excited to see what Jonathan Majors is going to bring to this role, because
Majors is really good also at tiny itty bitty facial tics when he speaks. You don't notice them until I start noticing over and over again that he's really good at that, and Majors is really good at being intimidating because, like, you brought up the whole I'm gonna kill her and make you watch it over and over again. I felt the same way in that, other than like a couple lines from Thanos, the same way I felt when Michael Keaton was in the car with Tom Holland saying, if you do this, I'm gonna kill you and everyone you love.
What a great
do not
scene.
get a lot of those moments in MCU movies, and when they happen, I'm just like, oh.
And
Part
the
of me-
thing
go
about
ahead.
that moment
Go back.
is, unlike the, where he does break the deal later, that wasn't a false promise. That was, he would have done that and just forced Scott Lang to sit there and to watch it over and over.
I literally believed, if I knew this wasn't a PG-13 film, the way that Majors was acting, I would have believed we would have seen that literally happen on screen. Because I was like, they're going to do it. That's how much I believe him. He's just going to do it.
There's another great scene involving Kang and Janet, where Janet is telling him about the lie that she told Hope. That she
I'll
would
be back.
home.
Mhm.
Yeah. The delivery of his time is a prison monologue was just excellent. Like I know we have clearly identified some faults in this script, but it's those little moments that I think make this an overall compelling watch.
Yeah, I want to just quote Steve Morris from the Cinephiles podcast, who has said multiple times, what makes a good movie good is not one brilliant idea. It's a million little ideas and little moments. And I think this movie is so, we've pointed them out, it's so full of them. And like, because we're kind of talking about the climax here, and I know I'm sticking to this point, but just when Hank and his aunts reunite, the excitement he has of like, they lived 1,000 years in 1 minute and look at everything they've done. And when he shows up and the ants start destroying Kang, like that. And look, Michael Douglas is just, we all know, he's just an incredible actor. He doesn't even really have to say anything in that moment, just his face of when the ants start and Kang is freaking out. And he's like, yeah, you thought you're all badass. You thought you hurt my family. You don't know ants.
Yeah.
My ants.
Yeah.
And that was a great moment too. I like that, to where it's just like Kang has been in such command for all this time. He's been in the quantum realm, and now this is the first time he's tasting defeat, and it's coming from these like little critters that he doesn't even understand. Like, what is this?
Wait, hold on. Also, didn't Loki say in the original Avengers movie, does an ant have any quarrel with a boot?
Yes.
Yes.
It
It all connects.
It all
Nice
It all
quote.
connects.
But yeah, like going with the climax, like the moment with Cassie going back to MODOK for a minute, like the moment between Cassie and MODOK where they have the moment of don't be a dick. I think I said this on one of Mike's posts, that it kind of makes me wonder if they subtly input that into the thing as a sort of jab at the toxic fanboys that are complaining about the MCU and all. There's like just don't be a dick. And
When this movie comes out, I'm making it a GIF and saving it on my phone just to share.
yeah.
I can't promise not to overuse that GIF.
But then when like MODOK just comes right back, it's like, my name is Darren and I'm not a dick.
It's nice when side villains can get their little redemptions in these movies, and they're giving, Manning and me went through all the James Bond movies last year. It's like Jaws and Moonraker when he comes to help James at the end. It's like, it's kind of fun when, when they find these things. And also for Cassie, she mentions it, like, this is the dude that like broke into her room when she was 6 and was holding her hostage, and now and that just shows this sort of progression that through this movie that she's had and sort of coming into her own as a hero. It's just like she's able to look at this thing just like lying on the ground, and it's just like, you're not scary, you're not evil, you're just a dick. Like, don't be a dick, man. Like, and that's really cool for her character, because she could have been like, screw you, you like terrorized me as a kid, and now she's just like, she's almost grown above him and has that sort of sense of just like, you don't punch down, you know, and that's cool. And again, that's why I think Cassie's a really great addition of sort of the young Avengers. They're kind of building in the background of the MCU in these last couple of phases that I'm really interested. Like, people have been talking about, I can't wait until Kate Bishop and Cassie Lang meet each other. That's going to be
Yes.
something
Oh my
fun
gosh.
when that happens. It's
Yeah.
going to be fun.
Them and America Chavez and Miss Marvel, like,
Yeah.
I will lose my mind. It's going to be so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't really talked much about the other group a lot here, and it's but not like they had much to do in it, but it's like I really wish we saw more of like William Jackson Harper and Gentura and all that, because that they didn't, like, they had it enough to do, but they didn't seem to have anything sort of major in there. Like, they're probably just there, and it's just one of those ones. Like, I mean, for the longest time, I was watching the movie things like, is that Michelle Rodriguez playing Gentura? Because it's got that, she looks really similar, but it wasn't. It was Katie O'Brien.
I don't know who saw Black Lightning on the CW, but she's like one of the people in the I can't remember exactly what organization, but she's one of the people who like takes over you know, their hometown in the last two seasons.
Okay.
I didn't realize that until after I left the theater. Like, because the whole time I'm like, she looks so familiar, but I can't place the name.
Yeah, Malcolm, your point with the Freedom Fighters, I think this is one of those things to where you can only, you know, when you give focus to one thing, you take focus from something else. And I think it was important to have them. It was important to have this idea that there are these people who have had their lives destroyed by Kang, but it's also like, the more we give them, the less we're giving to Scott and to Cassie and to Janet. And I think I thought it was fine. I thought for what it was, you know, it's old school kind of, you know, Magnificent Seven Samurai, to where it's the villagers who have been pushed over, the heroes roll into town, and they give them the sort of spring of hope in them to sort of fight back against the evil. And that's great. And Bill Murray was in this movie. I don't think we mentioned that nearly enough. He's in there for
so little of time.
But you know what?
Come on.
That
We want
line
more.
delivery of "I'm human where it counts," looking at Hank.
Brilliant.
That's Bill Murray. Like, that's brilliant Bill Murray, man. Like, and that's why you cast Bill Murray for that role, is for that delivery and that look he gives Michael Douglas.
Can I add for 1 second? I'm so happy they didn't do a thing that a lot of movies and TV shows do regarding Hank and Janet. They have a discussion where clearly you figure out that Janet and Krylar,
Yeah,
Sure.
Krylar,
Yes.
you know, did things.
They
did the old horizontal mambo. And then you get to later with Hank, and all of a sudden he's like, "Are you going to tell me you never had any with anyone?" He's like, "No, I tried a few things with one girl." He's like, "What was the problem?" "She wasn't you, babe." And then they never fight about it ever again. It did not become
nice.
drama. They just
So
let
nice.
it go like
Yeah.
the adults would.
It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like with Bill Murray is if I knew he was only going to be that little bit of time, I kind of wish they didn't show him in the trailers, because
Sure, but that's also just we have a big comedic actor.
well, yeah. No, I get that. It was like I didn't have a problem showing him in the trailer, but they showed the trailers. I thought, oh yeah, he's going to have a bit more to do in this movie.
But going back to that scene, I just love the aesthetic of that. It gave off a real Cantina vibe from Star Wars, you know, and I like that. And there's a great small moment between Hank and Hope, which is when Bill Murray starts talking about, like, you're here. He knows you're here. I'm going to bring you to him. And she starts charging up her guns, and Hank just puts his hand on her gauntlet. And it's just this great unspoken moment of like, I know you. I know what you want to do. This is not the time to start a fight. And then also, you know, going back to Hank and Janet's dynamic, when she starts going for the ship and she's like, you have my back always. You know, it's just those great little connective moments of these characters and everything. And that was a really great sequence. And I think the reason why you cast Bill Murray is because this character is only in one scene. We need an actor who's just going to be able to come in, sell this guy, and he did, and he was great, you know. And I also like how he again, going back to the fact that the quantum realm is this established world. I like the fact that like this dude was a freedom fighter, and now he kind of sold off to the bad guys so that he could, you know, get the rich palace. Like that's a, you know, that's you know, 006 turning on, you know, MI6 and GoldenEye. It's like, it's cool to sort of see these people that you thought were good and we have this history with, but you sold out to the bad guys. It's nice to see that, like, not everyone who fights for good stays good forever. Some people, you know, they take the easy way out.
Yeah. And I'm glad we only had Bill Murray for that scene. I was so afraid we would get too much Bill Murray, even though
Same.
I loved the back and forth between him and Hank. I could have watched like 5 more minutes of that if we were going to get more of him. But there was, with Krylar, with like the freedom fighters, even though I didn't necessarily love the freedom fighters as much, I think they were there just long enough before it felt like too much, or like it was like really like over bloating the script, honestly. Like I wish we got more of William Jackson Harper's character, because between him and Scott, like that was like the comedic stuff I was missing with Louise, and they did the bit just long enough that it didn't feel like it went on too long.
Agreed.
So, yeah.
And it could have, the mind reading thing, once it's introduced, they could
yeah.
have easily been a joke that it's just like we keep repeating, but they kind of do it enough. You get, it's funny, and then just at the moment when it's about to become annoying, it stops, and the mind reading only comes back for important moments.
Mm-hmm.
With Bill Murray, apparently the only reason he was in the film was because Catherine Noon's a really big golfer, and she was at a golfing tournament with Bill Murray because he golfs. And he came up to her and said, "You know, kid, I think it's time for me to get into the MCU. Can you like get me into it?" And she's like, "I'll see what I can do."
That's funny, where Catherine Newton would be the one talking to people to get Bill Murray into a movie.
Brilliant.
And then he called her. I saw that
Bill
Jimmy
Murray.
Fallon interview. He called her. He was just like, "Hey, can I be in the MCU?" Like, and mind you, the deal was probably done, but she was like, yeah, sure, Bill." And that's just, you know,
Why not?
that's just, we love Bill Murray. It's like the fact that the woman from Roadhouse, he calls their husband if he's watching on TV. It's just like, "I see Patrick Swayze banging your wife," and he just hangs up the phone because that's Bill Murray. We love Bill Murray. Renegade stands Bill
there
Murray.
also wasn't an Osmosis Jones joke in this movie.
Yeah,
Is Bill Murray's casting in that, and the fact that it's time travel and this is dude from Groundhog Day, that's also got to be like, there's levels to why you cast Bill Murray in that role. Like, there's just,
I'm sure
because
that's
he's Bill Murray. You can only have him in the movie for so long before you feel like you're watching Bill Murray at some point.
Yeah.
This is so true.
yeah. Unless the movie is called Lost in Translation, or Saint Vincent. Those are like the two. When he
Well,
doesn't
yeah, if he's the
overtake
lead, that's a
Bill
different
Murray.
story. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
what I'll add, though, is we kind of been talking about those side characters, and when I've said that my favorite parts were always Cassie and Scott. They still are my favorite aspect. I feel like the other group that we had, I think they all gave their A game, but a lot of the time you can really see that outside of Janet, the other two had some good moments, but they were kind of underserved in comparison to films past, which is not a bad thing, but you can just kind of tell in comparison because they gave the really good bits to Scott and Cassie, and even Janet to a degree as well, too. Well, they had to, because she had to explain where Kang came from. And it just kind of served, it kind of like, not hurt, but it was just kind of like, oh yeah, it's fine, because Hope had such great material as her character progressed from Ant-Man to Ant-Man and the Wasp, that it was just kind of sad to see her regulated to like this. And yeah, the freedom fighters were fine. They served their purpose to really show. They were kind of more of characters that kind of showed the world. They were exposition characters to explain what the scenario they ran. They served their purpose. And I feel like I don't know, even when, spoiler alert, well, spoilers at the bottom. So if you're watching this so far, what are y'all doing? But like, Yeah, whoopsies.
Exactly.
But like when that, what is the name of that character with the giant eye that blasts pew?
Oh
What's his
boy.
name?
I don't think he
Yeah.
Fireface.
his name.
Yeah, like when it had the music of like,
I think
oh
they
no,
say,
he
like,
died. I was like, I don't care. I'm sorry. It's like I get it.
I'll be
but-
honest. I completely forgot that character's name.
Like that
but
death scene goes like
Yeah.
right under that one random Ewok who dies in Return of the Jedi. It's just like,
But
the
that
greatest
was more
movie deaths of all
emotional.
time.
Yeah.
I still cry over that Ewok.
All right, I do too. My joke turns into
Yeah.
reality. So I will say, Manning, on your point about Hope and Hank is, I think because both of them were such big focuses of the previous two movies, whereas Janet wasn't, I think that's the trade-off. I think and that is what I like is it's almost like how Marty has a lot of story stuff in Back to the Future 1 and 2, and then in 3, his story becomes sort of secondary to Doc's. Until you remember Doc Brown was a character in 1 and 2 and didn't have as much story stuff. And that's what I like when trilogies do that, when they remember that. Look, Kevin Feige and everybody, they understand that when this movie comes out on Blu-ray or Disney Plus, like people are going to binge these movies back to back to back. And so to give Janet more of the story stuff, since she was kind of just a throwaway character in the first movie, and then she became a little bit more of a character in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but here this is the first time that she becomes a character. And honestly, it's to the point with this conversation with what Mike said. I think this movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania because it's Scott Lang and Janet Van and not Hope.
Yeah.
One last point before we kind of move on from the Freedom Fighters. One thing I do kind of like about their involvement is that we often compare superhero movies to westerns, but I don't think superhero movies take enough direct influence in that kind of like the Mad Max series, where the heroes come into town, like they make their impression, and then
Road Warrior. Actually, that's a great reference point to this movie. Actually,
exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. Road Warrior or Fury Road. Where the heroes do have their own arcs, but they're also there to kind of be a drop in the bucket for the civilization that they come in contact with. But I ultimately agree that it's tough to juggle that and the through line throughout the trilogy of Scott and Cassie's relationship.
Agreed.
I agree. Like I said, I think, the Freedom Fighters, they serve their purpose of filling out this world, and that's great. And like you said, Mike, I agree. I think it was nice. And again, I'm such a big Westerns person. Like I saw that Magnificent Seven or Road Warrior. When you said Mad Max, I immediately agreed. Like I think of that civilization that Max comes upon in that movie. And the fact there's no feral kid in this, now I'm really upset ever since you brought that up. But yeah, it's great. And it's nice because for the heroes, those stories in those Westerns are always the fact that, the lone gunman kind of just comes into town, and his involvement is what sort of helps these people sort of come out of this dark hole. And that is, Scott Lang and his family coming into the quantum realm at this moment, is these people were kind of just surviving, kind of moving from place to place, but not really ever going like, well, we can't fight this guy. And then it just takes these heroes to be like, sure you can. And it's a good thing that you do. And then that's nice to see. Because Westerns, like, let's be honest, before comic book movies, Westerns were the comic book movie, and now it's sort of gone to the wayside. So it's nice. And hopefully maybe that means Clint Eastwood's going to get into one of these MCU movies one day. They keep more of these Western influences. Who doesn't want to see him? I want to see Clint Eastwood be the one to kill Kang in Kang Dynasty as himself. I'd be like, get off my lawn.
I just thought the same thing. You gotta
Just
ask
going to
yourself,
as
did I fire
himself.
all 6 Infinity Stones or just 5?
Matt, I just want to tell you, if they're gonna do that, they probably should do it sooner than later. The man's like 90 something.
Dude,
So-
Clint Eastwood will outlive everyone on this panel.
I don't
Every
doubt
time
that.
Just knocks on
He
the
will.
door. I feel like he just goes fuck off and closes the door on him.
He was the one that I thought might have been Thunderbolt Ross if they got like a big profile that ended up being Ford. And I was like, okay,
Yeah,
that makes
okay,
sense.
but Harrison
know.
Ford.
I can see that.
I don't know who else is gonna. but
But that's because they had to get Ford because they're planning for Clint Eastwood to appear as himself in Kang Dynasty.
Ah,
I'm sorry, guys. I
So
spoiled
much
the rest
setup,
of.
you know.
I'm sorry. I've spoiled it all for you. Happened here.
Kevin Feige, what are you doing here as Matt?
Yeah, I should have had my baseball cap.
What's this
here.
King?
Yeah, I was about to say, where's the hat?
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm missing here.
Now you got my mind spinning.
This
about
is why
who
you
could
invite me on
actually
these
play
shows
other
because
than
I bring up
himself.
these random points of I want
Wait.
Clint
We love you
Eastwood
for
to
it.
kill Kang.
Wait, can we talk about how good of the mid-credit and post-credit scenes are? Because
Yes.
this
Yes.
was such a return to like
Yes.
this is what these mid-credit scenes are meant to do. Because
Absolutely.
I like a lot
Yeah.
of Phase 4. They did not utilize those properly. And my whole thing is like, we need to start connecting the pieces now that this is the multiverse saga. And they do that. They do it so well. And they did the same thing that they did in Ant-Man. In their post-credit scene, they had literally a scene from Captain America Civil War. And they did the same thing in their post-credit scene for, spoilers, Loki season 2. And it is so good. Like, they set the stakes to where we are heading, and it makes me so excited for when we're going to see Kang next. And I really hope we see a variant of Kang in every single thing moving forward. That's my theory.
Agreed.
I genuinely
I was actually
Loki.
I was
That
actually
shocked
going to
me.
bring that up.
And I think it also just since we're talking about the post-credit scenes, I think one for Jonathan like Majors, it goes to show why you take this role is that post-credit scene because it's like I get to be all of these variants. Like again, like I said it earlier, for one random hype man who's just like bounding on the chest of the guy next to him, like, yeah! And then also it goes to show how good of an actor Tom Hiddleston is because when Owen Wilson is just like, this is the guy that you said is super scary. Like what? And his look of just
Wow.
like he doesn't even look at Owen
Terror.
Wilson. He's like, yeah, like that's real cool. I mean, this was the guy who like took on the Avengers in the first movie. Now, like that just goes to show you how scary this guy is when we're looking at maybe the like least threatening version of him in that moment. And it's that's really cool. And that I agree. I think for the post-credit scenes, sometimes they're fun. We all love our shawarma scenes and everything, but it's nice to go back to like the reason why we hold our pee for several moments is for this stuff. And it's great.
Yes, I agree.
Like
they were both.
I don't
about
know
Kang
a
also
whole-
shows how important he is.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about Loki season 2, but I hope
Loki's in it.
I hope Meredith's theory is correct that
I heard it's going to be on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Iris connected to
Wait,
the
what?
MCU. Kevin
I
Feige is
know.
producing it.
actually
Sorry, guys,
there is one thing I do know.
Kevin.
Ki Kwan is going to be in this.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I missed. What did you say?
Short Round is playing a character in Loki season 2.
All right, I didn't
Future
watch Loki
Oscar
season 1, but
winner.
Yes.
I'm watching Loki season 2 now. Just based
You need
off
to.
of that. Just based off of that. Nah, I'm not even watching season 1. I'm watching for Short Round.
No.
You
Well, if that's the
should watch
case,
He does
season
not
1,
say
though.
at any point
It's
in Loki
regardless, it's
season 2,
good.
hold on to your potatoes. I'm canceling my
what Meredith
Disney
said.
Plus subscription.
well, what I was going to quickly add first, Matt, is if you want to see Short Round, Ki Kwan, go watch Everything Everywhere All at Once.
But Manning, you know me. That's a new movie. I have to wait until it's about 3 years old, and then I can get around to it.
What was Top Gun Maverick then?
That's
You saw
different. That's my personality. It's different.
How the heck
All
is
that I am.
everything?
different.
I rest my case.
Well, yeah. He also rest our friendship. It was nice while it was.
Wow.
Oh.
I'm talking about from
Shots
your
fired.
perspective. You're like, this is Matt. I can't do this anymore. I tried,
Okay.
but like Linkin
Lord.
Park, I tried so hard, but in the end,
Oh.
that's a quote. It's not a reference to the band.
That's a lyric.
Why was it Nickelback in this movie? I just want this movie to have everybody know. Like,
I
why
mean,
was there
Secret
not a
Wars
scene when
will.
Scott Lang was like, Cassie, look at this photograph. Every time I do it makes me laugh.
See, but that's
Okay.
gonna happen in Secret Wars. That's when Nickelback will show
Oh my
up.
god, yeah, that's right.
Of course.
I tell
Kang
you
Dynasty
right
is
now,
Clint Eastwood.
right now, if in Secret Wars, if they have a portal type scene and you get to see Josie Scott and Chad Kroeger jump up on a building and start singing Hero, they will never top it. Ever.
Well, it's just a portal's going to open. It's literally just going to be the music
And
video
that's where
from
Toby comes
Spider-Man.
through and swings past him.
Yes.
How was that not in No Way Home? That was someone
I was
messed up.
waiting so
Someone
bad.
screwed up there.
Like an orchestral version of Hero.
Oh gosh.
Big
with
missed
the free
opportunity.
Spider-Man. Come on, guys. Yep.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna bring this back real quickly.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Bring it in. Bring it in.
I'm gonna. All right, there we go.
Every
Reel
time
it
I
in.
think I'm out, pulls me back in.
I'm pulling you back in, sir. So the question that I have is that obviously we're never gonna Meredith have a great theory, or this way, Meredith have a great theory that like we may or may not, hopefully we do, because more Jonathan Majors is always a great thing.
Yeah.
We have Kangs in some capacity in almost every little aspect we have in this phase, in some capacity. Do we think that the Kang that we saw here, this Kang, Kang the Conqueror, is he dead? Or is he still
No.
coming back?
No.
We do not.
Mm-mm.
That one,
No.
that version.
The weird
That
part
one.
for me of that,
I think this
though,
is our Thanos.
it is.
That
It's
version.
weird that the other people that would have the closest ties to him said he was dead. That was the one where I was
Yes.
like, or
Because
and then, like,
his other
that
people
was
said,
weird to
yes,
me.
he is dead.
But
Exactly.
that's-
That's why I'm confused.
I think that's also we thought Darren was dead, and that might just be a we don't understand the quantum realm yet.
Yeah.
And I
because
brought
they
up to
banished
Mike
him
that I
there.
thought he got red skulled, where he got zipped.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
I think because
Good
I
point.
think the way you build this character and the way you have his confrontation with Scott at the end, I think to have that be it is a waste, and I don't think it does. And I think that's also going to add to how evil this guy is that the Kangs that banished him, yeah, they think he's dead. Like this is again, I'm just quoting over series here. This is Voldemort's 100% dead. Snape, he's dead. He's not coming back. And then years later,
Great point.
oh no, he's back. Like, and I think that will be a moment with the Council of Kang when this guy does come back, and it's going to be, oh, we're in trouble. Because look, building up with the Infinity Saga with Thanos and everything, the whole thing you do is we have our great heroes, and they're going to win. They're always going to win. They're always going to come out on top. But you build this mountain of a villain to where you're like, can they? And I think Kang the Conqueror coming back will be that. But Ant-Man beat him, guys. Ant-Man beat.
Yeah.
We're in trouble.
Technically, a million ants beat him.
Yes,
But think if
Because
they
That's
put
true.
a million ants
'Cause once
back,
again,
though,
Hank Pym loves his ants.
For the suit, so it was just a human versus human normal fight.
Look, if there are any artists out there, can you just draw a picture of Hank Pym just hugging an ant for me so I can put it on a t-shirt and like a little heart around it? Like that's all I want. That's all I want.
honest question.
So wholesome.
A lot of
As opposed to
people
the
like
fake questions we've been asking.
Yeah, I know. This one's a real one. Trust me.
Okay.
I'm one of those people that thinks that all the MCU costumes are crap thing is a big dumb complaint because some of you need to look at some comic designs to see what truly, truly unbelievably horrible costumes are. Am I the only one that literally thought they bought something from Spirit Halloween with the Egyptian Kang? That was
What if
maybe.
that's not
where I was
Spirit
like,
Halloween Kang, Brock?
guys?
Hey,
more
what's
like
wrong with
could be.
Halloween?
What?
I was about to say more like Party City, maybe. I don't know.
Party City. Okay, there we go.
But you know what makes me happy about seeing that? That finally ties into Moon Knight. That ties into the whole pantheon of gods from Thor Love and Thunder. Like that, see, as bad as that looked, I was like, oh my gosh, they finally connected these pieces together. And
A Charlie Day moment of
yes,
Pepe Sylvia.
Pepe Sylvia. I was going Pepe Sylvia over seeing all of those Kangs being like, they're going to show up here. They could show up here. Like, I got boxes full of Pepe Sylvia. I got boxes full of Kang.
Do you guys think that eventually at some point, where none of you have seen Supernatural, so this is not going to be a thing that happens, at one
I've seen
point
Supernatural.
Okay, do you remember the point where Cass kills an entire room full of Deans to try and train him to kill Dean?
Off the top of my head, no, but I do remember the scenario, but just not
Now that they think he's dead and we're pretty convinced that he's coming back, do you think we're going to get a scene where he just kills?
Oh, I think we're
all
going to get a
those-
scene of him
Yes.
killing a
Yes.
ton of Kangs.
Okay.
I think they're going to, if it's not the guys we saw at the beginning, if there is that sort of the heads of the council, I think we will get a moment of him sort of just being like, you banished me and I'm back now, and killing them. And I think that will again go to establish his villainy and why we should fear him.
That kind of sounds like the cold open to Kang Dynasty.
That would be spectacular. Him just over a
Ooh.
body.
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
I mean, it's almost like how you open Infinity War is with that ship of Asgardians and Thanos just kicking Hulk's ass. Like, that's how you establish your bad guy in the movie.
And killing the first Avengers villain.
Yeah, that too.
Villain.
Yeah, killing the
Massacring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I will quickly add is by saying is that I think again, I'm not as familiar with the Kang Dynasty. I've read comics, but I'm not as deeply into the Kang comics. Secret Wars, now that's a different story. If that's going to be like Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars, yes, please and thank you. But that's not the case. We don't know. Anyway, I'm so excited because when Marvel really goes off the walls and weird, and the entire Kang is a very literally a weird character because time does not constrain him. Reality, he's not constrained by reality. And that's why he makes these really exciting. And while I may not have loved Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, I like the aspect of where they are taking it further because I'm admittedly, I haven't been a fan really of a lot of the MCU films since Endgame personally. And I'm kind of getting stale, but I'm still excited because they're intriguing me with what they're doing with their villain. Like, he's not necessarily a Thanos where he's back in the shadows. This man is front and center. And I really like that because he's going to be an overarching villain, but not just him, other versions of him. And it's kind of a weird mind-bending thing that I'm all about. I want him to be weird. I want him to be out there. I want him to take chances because that's how Marvel is still going to be fresh and exciting. If they go weird and they go exciting, they have their, traditional superhero films sometimes that follow the specific formula, but they'll have these ones that are really, really just kind of insanely, as the saying goes, balls to the wall. And I am all for that. And Kang, especially as weird as the costumes were, as weird as the costumes were, like, that's just exciting for me as a viewer because it shows that they're willing to take a chance on the fact that people may be like, wow, they are really going deep cuts with this one. And that gets me excited because that shows they know the power they have. They know they're going to make money. So they're just like, we already have you. We're going to kind of go all in. And that's what I'm excited about.
I do agree. I think that at this point, if you are invested in the MCU, if you're investing in the MCU, I know there are the people who during Phase 4, Thor Love and Thunder with it, I'm never watching a Marvel movie again. But that's just like a dude on Twitter who also is just like, if you buy Hogwarts Legacy, you're an idiot. I'm downloading Hogwarts Legacy over here. There are always going to be those people, but I think by this point, if you're invested in this series, you're invested in now. It's an opportunity to just kind of throw something at the wall, see what sticks. Maybe it all might not work, but you know what? Talking about the Ant-Man series, maybe doing a heist movie, a small-scale heist movie, might not work, and it did. So, and it's nice to see Marvel take chances. Me, Mike, and Brock were talking before we started doing this about She-Hulk, and that show was literally just the embodiment of just like, we're gonna throw a bunch of stuff at the walls. Might not work for me. It entirely worked, and so I'd be happy to see just a bunch of random Kangs pop up in different stuff, and just I look. I'm not very familiar with Jonathan Major's work, but I am so excited to see this guy just do I'm just imagining a bunch of different versions of him, and I imagine him just in a room with Kevin Feige and the writers just being like, can you do a Arnold Schwarzenegger impression? Because we want you to be Austrian in this one. and that'd be fun to see as well. Like that'd be great.
Wait, remind me. So, of the people here, who hasn't seen who hasn't seen Loki season 1, so they didn't see He Who Remains? Okay, Matt, watch the final episode of Loki season 1. If we're gonna, because like I love that like Kang the Conqueror and this is your first introduction, but when you see the way that Jonathan Majors does that version of Kang, it just makes it even more exciting to be like, we could literally see a completely different version of Kang every time we see him moving forward. And I think that's what kind of makes him terrifying is like, well, what is Kang? Is Kang as a villain, is it just the one conqueror, or is it really all of them? And like knowing that you can't nail down Kang and like as like who is this being, and if it's just all of him in every version of him, that's kind of terrifying because you don't
and I
know
think
what
that
you're
goes
gonna
back
get.
to the technology looks like magic to us. I think it is play around with that. He's so advanced that like we can't understand him, and that is kind of fun for that to be your villain because look, I'm talking about a different comic book character here, but it's like it's the Batman thing of like, well, if Batman has enough time to study his villain, he'll be able to defeat him. But it's like, how can you study a villain who is he's so advanced that we think he's magic and he's not when we have actual magic people? And that is going to be fun, and I think that just goes back to this movie has just sort of reignited my love for the MCU and my excitement for the future. Like, and look, yes, I joke about Clint Eastwood and all these things, but it comes more from and I'm just excited to see the characters and the things they're going to pull out, and particularly with Kang and that post-credit scene that we get this opportunity with this character to just do this stuff and to have a villain who, maybe we won't understand. And that's going to be scary, but that's also going to be cool to see how our heroes defeat them. Because, like, we also know this is how the MCU works, but it's like, that's going to be fun. And particularly, I think, in this phase, because now it's not, well, we have Tony and Steve Rogers, and they're really smart. It's like, well, no, we don't. We don't have them anymore. And that's kind of cool, too, is to see this new crop of Avengers go up against this guy. Because it's like, I'd be terrified enough if Tony Stark and Steve Rogers were walking around fighting Kang, but Steve is off in the past, ignoring a lot of historical stuff that maybe he should have helped change, but he didn't. But that's a different story entirely. And Tony Stark is dead.
You can have Clint Eastwood play the current version of Steve Rogers.
There we go.
Boom.
Sorry,
Done.
Chris Evans, you fired.
So
Get off my lawn
anymore.
I have this scene. This scene is Falcon, Captain America loses the shield. This moment, and then it's I can do this all day. It's freaking badass, and he's dressed like he is in Gran Torino too. So it's just like jeans and a gray T-shirt. Oh man!
And then he walks
So a
up
couple-
to Kang and says, "I put a
Sad
hole in
thing
your
is,
chest
Brock,
and I go inside
you
and
put
sleep
this
like a
idea in my
baby."
head, and there's no way Kevin Feige is doing this. So now I'm just gonna be upset eternally.
Speaking of Kevin Feige, a couple days
I thought you
ago,
were gonna
he-
say speaking of Eternals.
Hey, I am an Eternals truther, okay?
I didn't
Same.
see the movie, so I can't.
Same. I think it is genuinely one of the most misunderstood Marvel films we have ever had, and is one of the best. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have not seen
but
it, so
speaking
I
of-
have no judgment over it.
Speaking of Kevin Feige, a couple days ago, he, through the press junkets, he's been giving some updates on the future of the MCU. And a couple things he brought up. One is that they're obviously listening to the fans, and the pipeline is going to be slowing down significantly, which is a good thing for the VFX artists,
Yeah.
Everyone working behind the scenes. But something else he brought up is how important the Fantastic Four will be. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Kang's civilian
detail.
name is Nathaniel Richards. So when the inevitable casting announcement comes, I think we have a pretty good idea.
You, Mike. Oh my god. Look,
I
I'm
think
a
we have a
huge
pretty good-
Fantastic Four fan from the comics. Like, Mr. Fantastic is like one of my favorite comic book characters. My excitement level for this MCU version is like it's through the roof. It's through
Yes.
the roof, and there hasn't even been like a casting. My only sadness is the person I always wanted to be Mr. Fantastic has aged out because George Clooney is not signing like a 20-year deal to be Reed Richards.
No, he's not.
Sadly.
I am
Often-
so excited about the Fantastic Four. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I'm just saying that I'm cautiously optimistic for it because the director I'm not huge on, but cautiously optimistic.
I'm just excited to have a version of the film that's getting made that is being made for a purpose other than to be
Holding
made
rights.
to let the rights revert.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Though, all right, I am of the camp that in Secret Wars, we're gonna see Michael B. Jordan and Chris Evans, not as their MCU characters, but as Human
Yes.
Torch.
That would
And
be good.
I will be so excited.
Yep.
I want the Fantastic Four
That'd
from
be
the '94
fantastic.
movie to pop up in that film. That's what I
The
want.
Roger
Yes.
Let
Right,
let
them
those,
still alive?
look, those guys went to a comic convention and were excited, and then they found out that Roger Corman had no intention of ever releasing this movie. I want them to get their just due. And if you listen to Shan McCullen on Cinephiles talk about it, the actor who played Reed Richards in that is also the guy who plays young Henry in the opening scene of Last Crusade. And he says that guy works at Universal, and he reminds you he was young Henry in the opening scene of that, and he was Reed Richards in the Roger Corman. He does not let you live that down. But I would too.
That's fantastic.
Which, by the way, Marvel, I'm free. So if you're looking for a younger Reed Richards, I'm right here.
So that's kind of my thing with the Fantastic Four. So Feige said that casting is underway, and their primary person that they want to cast first is Sue Storm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I want them to take the route that they get a bunch of up and coming actors. I do not want an all-star cast for a Fantastic Four. For Marvel's first
Absolutely.
family, I want them to bring these like great new talent together and to make something of their own. That's why I love so many of their casting decisions that they've done in the past, and if they do Doctor Doom, make him your big A-list star that you bring in. Don't let it be the core four there.
And it's surprising I haven't mentioned this superhero yet. You pull Superman the movie, which if you listen to Richard Donner talk about that movie, if you surround your unknown actor as the main lead with a lot of great supporting characters, no one will care about it's an unknown. And so that's why you have Gene Hackman as the villain in that movie, so that you can have who is Chris Reeves as your hero. I agree. I think that'd be great. And look, there's so much talent out there, and in the TV pool and all that. Bring someone from that, like we talked about with Catherine in this movie. It's just like these great actors out there. You're right. Yeah, bring them in, and look. Chris Evans was George Kirk in that one scene in the opening of Star Trek 09 before he was Thor. He was great, so go back to that sort of casting mentality of just like, we don't have to know who these people are, particularly at this point, particularly with characters like Fantastic Four. Like, Reed Richards doesn't need a big name to play him, because that character, if you know the comics, he's big enough, and also the MCU is big enough at this point to where it's like, why not? Why
People
not?
care
You-
more
you
about
brought-
the
you
movie
brought
being
up,
good than who's in it.
You brought up Superman, and in that same interview,
Yeah, I know I
Feige,
did. It's weird for me, Mike.
Feige brought up that
Wait. Henry Cavill? James
That
Gunn
would be-
fired him. Kevin, bring him in.
that would be great. But what I was gonna say is, for those who don't know, Kevin Feige before he got into working with the Marvel movies, he interned for Richard Donner, and Superman the movie is like one of his all-time favorites. I think he said he has a poster of Superman like in his office, and he makes like every single director watch Superman the movie, which honestly makes a lot of sense with the way that,
Particularly with the
Pretty much
Captain America films, that makes so much sense.
Yep.
That
Mhm.
Kevin Feige is such a fan of that, because and look, that's just, anyone who wants to make a comic book movie should watch that first Richard Donner movie, regardless, because it is a look. We know these are comic book movies, so we can have sort of fantastical things, but just make sure at the core of your story. And again, I think to tie this back to this movie, what I was talking about with Scott's whole story is the core of your hero should always be doing good. And even if it's difficult, and even if you sacrifice time with your daughter, and even if you sacrifice your life, or even if you're going up against insurmountable odds, at the end of the day, heroes are heroes. And again, I love the fact that apparently he interned with Richard Donner, because that was what Richard Donner understood with these characters. And I think that is to get very overly sappy, because we started talking about Superman the movie, and that just reminds me of all these things. It's just like our world sucks, and so it's great to have these movies, and I think that's why I love this movie so much, and why I loved Multiverse of Madness last year. It's great to have escapism, and to have characters that just remind us that it's really easy to be Kang, and to think about yourself and to misuse people for your own benefit. It's really hard to be Scott Lang. And to go into a bad situation and to think you might lose, but to still go into it. It's such an important thing. And it's something that we really need. And to bring up another movie, I think that was something that Top Gun Maverick did great with the character of Pete Mitchell, was that too, of just dude, it's good to have heroes, because we need them, because like I said, the world sucks, and we just need those glimmers of hope that just hey, yeah, being a good person, it's hard. It's a lot harder. That's the George Bailey mentality. That's why people watch It's a Wonderful Life every year, is because that is George Bailey to a T. Is just your life's going to suck if you're good, but it's good to be good.
And the best way they've ever said that, honestly, and it's a thing that doesn't get brought up enough in my opinion, is when Hawkeye's talking to Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron.
Yes.
I have a bow and arrow, and I'm gonna go out there right now.
None of this makes sense. You walk out that door, you're an Avenger. Otherwise, I'll get your brother to come and get you.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
Look, Mike brought up Superman the movie, and I just got overly sappy. It happened. It's unfortunate.
And we love you for it.
All good.
Talk about needing heroes. Scott's going to be one of the best people to have going forward, because all these kids are going to be like, guess what? We need heroes. Guess what? You have to be them. We don't have all those old people anymore. It's us now.
Yeah.
That's a great point you bring up, Brock, and I could almost see that scene happening with a Kate Bishop, with even Cassie or something, that moment. And look, maybe they'll even bring Clint back to do that again in a future movie, of just look, we fought next to Captain America and Iron Man and all these people. They're not here now. But you know what? The reason why we beat Thanos is because they didn't give up. If they bring back, I could do this all day in some way, shape, or form with that, that would be awesome. Of just letting that mentality of Steve Rogers, just that's why we're going to win, because we're not going to give up. They didn't give up, and you're not going to give up now. That'd be awesome.
And Scott is such a fanboy to where he would say that.
And they established this to where he's I didn't fight Captain America. I fought
with him.
alongside him.
I would never fight Captain America.
So you know how they are teasing Young Avengers very subtly throughout Phase 4? I have had a running theory that we're gonna meet them for the first time in either Kang Dynasty or Secret War. Yeah. And I really hope that happens, especially after this movie, because we need the next generation of heroes to rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good time.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they're going to connect not only Young Avengers, but all of these little pockets of heroes and teams that we have. We do have Fantastic Four coming up. Deadpool's going to come in and just wreck everything, and I am so excited for that. I really hope that he has a scene with Jonathan Majors. Just,
oh god,
I need it. I need it. But then you also have the Eternals. You have what's going on with Shang-Chi. You have the Thunderbolts. You have all of these pockets of characters, and they're all, I love their dynamics that they already have, but where are we heading for Kang Dynasty and for, for Secret Wars? How are they going to work together? Are they going to have issues with each other? Like that, I like when I get to speculate like that and think, okay, how are they going to do this? Because we watched them do it at Endgame. They brought literally everybody there. So let's
And
see
now
them
they
do it.
own almost everything, so they can.
Yeah, because now you have X-Men. It's possibly the
Yes.
X-Men get introduced in this, and that's really exciting too.
One step at a time, Matt. One step at a time.
No, and I'm just saying, and it's nice because, like, dude, I remember, and I talked about this on Take 3 before. Like, I remember when I thought that, like, the first Avengers movies, that was the peak. Like, I was just like, oh, so maybe we'll get a couple more of these Avengers. I had no idea in 2012 that they were gonna do all this and have all this stuff, and it's so cool that to have that sort of fire reignite into me to where, like, I'm really excited to think about, in particular, like I said, I love the Fantastic Four, to see, like, one of my favorite heroes, Reed Richards, coming into this world. And yes, I know he appeared in Multiverse of Madness, but really appear, like, that's really exciting to me, and to see what new characters, and how they can expand the characters that we already have established. And that's a really cool thing. And at the center of it with this movie, we have a really cool villain to have all these heroes be built around going up against. Because, I don't know who said it, but, a great writer once said, your hero is really only as good as your villain. And right now, Jonathan Majors, as whatever version of Kang, is going to be a good villain. So, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's gonna drag. That's gonna go on for a while.
So to wrap things up, any final thoughts you have on Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Manning, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I don't know what else I could add other than this chapter in the MCU didn't necessarily work for me, and I feel like it. Although at the same time, hearing the love that y'all are saying for it, I understand why it worked for y'all, because you gravitated toward those emotional moments, and all the other noise that was around it, that other stuff really honed in on y'all, or really kind of like connected with you guys. And I really see that, and I respect that completely. For me, it wasn't enough, as great as those moments were, to really grab me in. And I'm thinking, I want to also preface this by saying, those who are looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score and seeing the audience versus the critics, please just stop. I'm done with this. If critics didn't like it, they didn't like it.
Yes.
If audiences like
Manning,
it,
would you
like
say
it.
don't be a
That's
dick?
Sure thing, Darren Cross. I sure do. But no, it's
The
just,
best.
that's just it. I have already seen that on Twitter, and I've seen people talk about it. Just it's okay. The people don't like it. It's okay. People that do like it. I'm just done and tired. I don't want to see it
Are you
anymore.
trying to say that opinions were formed before they got on Rotten Tomatoes?
You know what? I don't know. You know what? It's almost like people have an opinion, and people have opinions.
Yeah.
Let's just deal with it and move on with our
Look,
lives.
I'm going to just say this line that I've said several times before.
Oh, no, what is it?
Opinions are like assholes. Everybody has a different one. If you think your asshole is better than somebody else, go home and rethink your life.
I thought you were going to say most of them are full of shit, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know what?
That works
Both
too.
can be true. But anyway, wrapping it up, I think it's a fine film. It's not great. It gets worse every time that I think about it, but maybe a second watch will really boost it up for me. So good, not great. Great elements. Didn't work for me as much as y'all.
All right. Meredith, your final thoughts?
I really enjoyed this conversation. It really helped solidify a lot of what I feel about this movie, the things that did work and the things that didn't work. I really still enjoy this. I had such a great time. I can't wait to revisit it again. I think where it worked well, it really came through the emotional story beats. And the things that didn't work well, it's the things that I'm not getting, I'm not grabbing my pitchfork over of like, how dare they do this or whatever. I think they could have done things a little bit stronger, and even some points that we mentioned that, like, if they would have made a certain changes here and there, it probably would have landed a lot stronger. As a critic who contributed to the critic score, I was one of the positive ones. I have no control over how that happened. And to the other critics who thought it was bad, that is your opinion, man. But if you're mad at me because it's a rotten score, I'm so sorry. It's not my fault, I promise. But we're all just going to experience this differently. And I think like the MCU and Kevin Feige has shown like the MCU is able to adapt. Like I think we forget how after the Avengers, phase 2 was kind of a mess. It took a little bit for them to find their footing again. And then that's why phase 3 became like the dynasty that it is today. And so I think we're seeing that with like phase 4 was kind of a mess over in a lot of places. So we all are having our own trepidation towards it. I think this being the beginning of phase 5 I think it is a big step in the right direction. And it is showing audiences of, okay, we hear what's happened. Like we hear you. We are here to show you this is why you need to be excited. And there seems to be an emphasis on those emotional character beat moments and those relationships, and also setting up where we're going. And they stuck the landing. If you want to say that Kang the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors, he is your villain moving forward, you have to introduce him in a way that's going to matter. And they did it. They did it so well. And I'm so excited for where we're going. And honestly, like as somebody who enjoyed a lot of phase 4, but it was just kind of all over the place, it feels like we're making connections again. And that makes me excited as a fan again.
Awesome. Matt, what about you? Your final thoughts?
I just want to build before I get my phone voice off something Meredith said, and to once again plug my work before I'm asked to plug it. Me and Manning last year went through all the Bond movies, going after by actor, and something we repeatedly said is the reason why the James Bond series has endured 60 years is because it's willing to adapt and change and not be stagnant. And the MCU is doing the same thing. Does it work all the time? No. But the fact that Kevin Feige and company are willing to throw something at the wall and see it sticks, that's really good. Phase 4 was a little bit of it peeled off the walls a couple of times too much, but I think with this, it's a step in the right direction. I'll reiterate again, I feel reinvigorated. This movie gave me a feeling that I was seeing a new Star Wars type adventure on the big screen that I haven't really felt in a long time in movies, and that excites me. It excites me moving forward for the Ant-Man series and the MCU as a whole. This being my introduction to Kang, I think Jonathan Majors really made a great step of being on par with Loki, with Thanos, with Kurt Russell from Guardians of the Galaxy Part 2, as one of the all-time great villains in this series. I really just love this movie. I love this discussion. I'm excited to watch this movie again, and ultimately, that's what I love, is when I see a movie that just when I think about it makes me smile. When I talk about it makes me smile. And my wrap-up thing is, Catherine, if you're watching this, I'm available. You hit me up at Kearns_Matthew, all right?
Shoot your shot,
Josh?
man. Shoot your shot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got a Stallone poster, Expendables 3 back there. I'm just saying. I know a lot of Bill Murray's movies, so we could have the three of us can hang out together. It's fine.
Checkmate.
I know these things. Boom.
Brock, your final thoughts?
Before I also mention, hey, Catherine, Organoid 0. I'm not good at golf, but I can learn. I excavate more than I golf, but, we need to, whatever you got to take that as. And speaking of her, I've watched Supernatural for literally half my life. I was so damn happy when she got announced in this film. She's great, and this is going to help her just explode into a bunch of other things. And at her age, she's only 26. She's got the whole world ahead of her. And yeah, it's just great. Again, for Young Avengers, my God. Oh, I can't wait for that stuff. But this movie was good. Like we said, a couple of things they could have just tightened up. I feel like it wanted to handle a lot. I don't think it bombed anything, but I think it still handled what it did. It just could have been like another run through the script to tighten it a little. I liked, again, that they were willing to just do weird stuff. And like, it's movies like this where you're going to get MODOK for a movie. Otherwise, it just wouldn't have got him. I'm so happy where they just go, we're never going to use him. What's a movie where we could stick him in for like 20 minutes? This was perfect. I love that we've gotten to that point. And yeah, they're not afraid to just be dumb, because they could have called him MODOK and never mentioned how unbelievably corny that acronym for his name is. But they did, and I was so happy. I'm happy for more, just for what we're getting. I was one of those people that was, when everyone complained about Phase 4, I'm like, yeah, it's Phase 1 again. Just really big this time. Like, really big. That's part of what makes it seem less, but outside of Loki connecting some stuff in after credit scenes, this is legitimately what Phase 1 was again. And I wanted that after Endgame, because you're going to need a new crew. And
Exactly.
you've got a bazillion people that they can put in stuff now because of all that. But also, to go on Meredith's point, now we're at the point of where we're connecting stuff again, and we're getting after credit scenes that where it's like, holy crap, what? And we're doing stuff like that. That makes me very happy. And just, I knew Jack with the side of squat about Jonathan Majors before this, other than the end in Loki, where you have a person who was the most intimidating person in Loki talking and warning two people, including a person who's a former Avengers villain, about how unbelievably intimidating another version of himself is that he's going to play in a later thing. This is just so cool that we get to see this version of a villain. I didn't know that they were going to go to Kang right away, but that is something you can stretch for a while and save other stuff for it. It's terrifying how much of Marvel is left, despite for how long it's been around. I mentioned again, there's been 31 films. I'm 32 years old. This started when I was in high school. I feel a billion years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked it. I don't know if it's my favorite, but a lot of it I really did like. I told Michael in our review of it, I didn't think that in the year of our Lord 2023 that I could tell you that we are on the third movie of an Ant-Man trilogy. And
Wild stuff.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So to reiterate my my thoughts at the beginning, I have always loved the Ant-Man films. The first two were at one point in like the top third of the MCU for me, and I have to say, especially after this conversation, Quantumania kind of belongs up there too. And Phase 4, say what you will about individual entries, I think as a whole, it was the transition phase that we needed to get us to whatever we're building up to with Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. I think this was the perfect big splash for our next big bad. Jonathan Majors, he is the perfect actor with the right amount of range for a character who has infinite variance, infinite different personalities, just infinite story possibilities. And I can't wait to see where Phase 5 and Phase 6 go from here. So yeah, this was a really fun episode. I'm glad that we got to do this. Before we head out of here, Meredith, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, if it's still alive by the end of this recording. Instagram and Letterboxd at Meredith Loftus. I'm also part of the Next Best Picture staff, so you can check out me on some of their podcast episodes and doing some writing, including some reviews there. And also I write for Collider, and I wrote a whole bunch of stuff about Ant-Man that is all being published this weekend, so check it out.
Awesome. And Manning, where can everyone find you?
You can also find me on Twitter at Cine_man. That's CINE_MANN. Wait, is there visuals to this at all? So people won't be able to see this, will they? What?
Depends if we put it on the website or not. I'm not sure.
Oh, well, If you can see it, it's right underneath my name. So there you go. If you cannot, then, well, I'm glad I spelled it out. You can also find me on WFMY News 2 on at 4 p.m. every Thursdays, where I give a review. This past Thursday, I had Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, where you'll have to see what rating I gave it. I won't tell you anything. You have to go watch it yourself on YouTube and on our website, as well as tuning in the Piedmont Triad area in North Carolina. And yeah, those are the places you can find me at the moment. And also, I guess I should probably start plugging my letterbox if I'm going to start doing stuff. So you can find me at Manning Franks. Super simple, easy to find.
Awesome. Matt, where can everyone find you?
If this is audio only, I'm glad to point out that yes, behind me I have an Expendables 3 poster of Sylvester Stallone, and it is awesome. But you can find me at Kearns_Matthew on Twitter, Matt Movies 611 on YouTube and WordPress. I'm gonna try to get back to writing. I wrote a whole article review about this movie, so please go and tell me how terrible of a writer I am, so that I can make all those writing teachers feel good.
You are good. I read it.
And you can also find me on the YouTube channel Take 3 Productions, where I do a whole bunch of stuff. I host a video essay series called Second Look, where I take a movie that I feel is either underrated or overhated, and I tell you the reasons why I love the movie. Episodes I've done have been on things like Moneyball, Batman Forever, and Dick Tracy. You can also find me as the co-host of Simple Tricks and Nonsense, which is now a live stream program with me and my buddy Abe. I'm going to be honest, we just we hit go live and things happen and discussions happen. Don't watch it with your kids because Abe is Abe. He once burnt $1 live on camera on Take 3. Okay, that should let you know who he is. You can also find me as the host of the Fandom Podcast, which I call Nerdy Joe Rogan. What I mean by that is it's me and a guest. We take one topic and we talk about why we love it. I've done episodes on Superman. Mike was a guest and we talked about animation. We've talked about Firefly and Serenity. It's a podcast to where the reason why it's called Fan Podcast because fandom's kind of a dirty, evil word. But like Randall and Clerks 2, I'm taking it back, bringing the positive to it. So yeah, and you can also just that's pretty much it. I'm so used to plugging myself on channels to where people can normally find me and not watch me. So when I get the opportunity to plug myself, people might come and follow me. Yeah. Also, Catherine, by the way, that was Kearns KEARNS_Matthew. I'm following you on Twitter, so you can just DM me. It's all good. It's all good.
All right. Brock, where can everyone find you online?
With a bucket underneath Matt while he drools over Catherine.
Excuse me. I am being respectful to an actress that I admire her work on. But also, by the way, if this is audio only, I'm 6 foot and built like Glenn Powell.
Dear God. And he also has very brown eyes, in case you're serious.
Wow. Wow.
This is also the last time you'll see me on Renegade Pop Culture.
Oh my.
Isn't it amazing that a company like Collider hasn't asked me to appear on any of their stuff? It's weird, isn't it? It's weird.
Catherine's going to be in the studio today. Lock Matt in his room.
Yeah, you should drink some wine, Meredith.
Okay. You can find me at everything on Organoid Zero outside of Instagram. I have one, but I really don't use it. I'm mostly on Twitch, where I'm a variety streamer of mostly story-based video games. I do a lot of content on my YouTube channel, which is mostly with Mike. The main thing that we do is Marvel reviews, movie reviews, and fresh takes, where it's just a person who is a big love of something, takes people through it. Currently, we were doing a Comic a Kill, but that just ended. And our next one, well, it'll be out by the time this is done. It's Violet Evergarden. And none of us had seen it, so we're going through that episode by episode to talk about it. And yeah, you can just look wherever you want. Oh, on my Twitch, if anyone is a fan of Resident Evil, the midnight release of the game, I will be giving away a digital deluxe edition for it on PS5. You just have to be watching and subbed. It's $5 in order to win something that is $80. So if you want to, head on over.
Good deal. And you guys can find me on Twitter and Hive at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser, on the Banana Meter. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You need to escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of Renegade Capes. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you guys later. Peace out.